are becoming more complicated, and the reality is that our industry cannot meet this demand. So anyhow, that's a topic of our panel today. What can we do to ensure that the clean car, clean vehicle, regional projects can actually take off and help us with this climate change action process and securing that we have cleaner cities for cleaner people? We have a power packed panel for this. Let's start with Jose Salvador, the Executive Secretary of the National Council of Energy from El Salvador. He's going to talk about the transportation and or mobility projects. The clock is running.
Agradecer primero a CEPAL por la invitación.
Allow me to thank ECLAC for the invitation. It's been quite important for us to join this initiative. It's allowed us to have a fresher view for the 2020-2030 policy. In 2020, we came up with a policy. It was a 2012-24 policy, and that really spurred a great deal of activity in the transportation sector. We went from 45% grid dominated by thermal power to renewables. We started investing in renewables 4 years ago. Just recently, our grid has 80% of renewable energies. Now, that's a significant step forward for all of us who are focusing on electromobility, because we are able to ensure that these vehicles will be charged primarily by 80% of renewables. And that means clean fuel for this type of transportation alternative. Now, the policy essentially, first of all, has made it necessary for us to update our regulations. We have been intensely working on that. We are amending the electricity law, which is quite obsolete. We have other institutions that have been in existence, and we are changing these to be more agile so that we can also be more transparent and less bureaucratic, and hence have a greater capacity to work with our investors so that we can favor the user in the end. We know that some investors are interested. We want them to be interested, and we want them to have a more holistic perspective of the situation, and to not just bear in mind the immediate return, but the long-term benefits, so that and involving citizens in the decisions and the benefits that can be obtained from different assets or plants that will be set up. Now, another issue is that energy needs to be sustainable. We need to be consistent, coherent with the SDGs. And moreover, consumption efficiency is also a key issue that we bear in mind and working significantly on. For example, lighting, air conditioning, combustion, etc. Now, I would like to refer to research. Very important. In Latin America, overall, there's a problem here in that there's a lack of research and technological innovation. We are very mineral rich, primarily South America, Central America. We have geothermal wealth. We have abundant solar power resources, not as much as Atacama, but enough. And we have time. And some countries, in fact, have already started down this path. So what about developing more technology in South America and Latin America with regard to bus manufacturing? And then we could import and export within our own region. We wouldn't have to go so far. I think this would favor economic integration of the region, while also spurring growth opportunities for our young people, intellectual development, technological, technical development. Obviously, this would allow us to cut back on many social issues and problems. We must ensure that our population has access to energy. We have roughly 96, 97% access, 3 to 4% is lacking, and we hope to close this gap by 2030. And the energy transition is key. We are regionally connected, and we also try to make sure that our region can be connected with Mexico and South America. This is one of our strengths, and this is something for which we've received support from the IDB so that we can further grow and be interconnected. We're headed in that direction. And of course, we must use cleaner, renewable generation in our markets and set aside coal-powered plants. Now, I mentioned that the policy is primarily based on decarbonization. We want to decarbonize by 2050, zero coal, and secure the SDGs. Specifically, we are developing some projects for sustainable mobility. Let me mention just a few because of time constraints. We have a widespread program driven by the Ministry of Public Works and Transportation to strengthen institutional capacity for providing governance to the mobility sector. Essentially, the idea is to secure 50 to 60 electric buses by 24. And this also includes the charging stations and other necessary accessories. And this would allow us to have a more accessible, clear, organized mobility policy and rely less on conventional transportation. That's roughly $30 to $40 million in project costs. We also have a project to design and build bike paths, interurban bike paths. We are working in San Salvador and other cities for a soft transition, and we aim to build upon this further. We also have a program to build and design accessible, safe, and inclusive pedestrian pathways or walkways. Regarding transportation, we are also trying to have more electric-powered transportation services for the government sector. We have a clear idea as to how this will make us more efficient, and the idea is to have electric vehicles for some of the civil servants, public civil servants, and make that part of our sustainable mobility project regarding, and this would be to meet their daily transportation and commuting needs. Now, there's something else I would like to mention, and that is collecting solid waste from electromobility. We know that this waste is an issue. How can we collect the waste? We need to coordinate well with all the various sectors and municipalities involved and central government so that this is possible. So we would like to begin with something that would motivate the individuals and the municipalities to ensure that we have a electromobility waste collection process. Now, we have other projects for water pumping to have fiscal benefits, and then electrification is another project. I would like to mention, I'm just mentioning these. There are others, and we have this information available to you if you would like it on the investment side so that you can read the details of these projects, and we will be in touch. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd just like to remind you that this is all included in the compendium, and there will be a broader version of the compendium available to you as well. Okay, let's move on.